The most dangerous weapon in the arsenal of erasure isn't a law, it's the quiet comfort of a borrowed identity. You've watched as peers gave up on the revolution, trading their heritage for a seat at a table that was never built for them. It's a tragic sight to witness those who support anyone but themselves, effectively acting as Caucasians in black skin while the community's foundation erodes. This systemic assimilation isn't an accident, it's a calculated design to ensure cultural amnesia and a lifetime of combating economic apathy. We agree that the current trajectory is unsustainable. You feel the weight of a movement that seems to have stalled, yet the architect, Raheem Muhammad, has drafted a definitive path forward. This manifesto dissects the mechanics of erasure and provides you with the functional blueprint for the restoration of black leadership by the year 2027. We are breaking cycles of assimilation to build a future rooted in autonomy and intellectual rigor. We will examine how economic solidarity serves as our primary defense, connecting our local efforts to the global liberation struggles in Sudan, Palestine, Rwanda, Namibia, Burundi, Nigeria, Central Africa Republic, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Iran, and Yemen. Prepare to move from the chaos of erasure to the precision of a new Black Wall Street. Systemic assimilation isn't a bridge to social equity, it's a burial ground for the revolutionary spirit. The architect Raheem Muhammad identifies this process as a strategic neutralization of the Black radical tradition. It functions by rewarding those who have effectively become Caucasians, in black skinned individuals who prioritize the comfort of the majority over the survival of their own lineage. This isn't accidental, it's a calculated erasure where cultural assimilation serves as the primary weapon to dismantle collective identity. Marcus Garvey's 1922 warning remains the definitive blueprint for our 2026 reality. He categorized assimilation as racial suicide. When leadership cadres gave up on the revolution in exchange for corporate board seats, they didn't gain power, they lost their soul. We see the symptoms today in figures who support anyone but themselves, funneling black capital into institutions that actively fund the destruction of Gaza or the exploitation of the Congo while ignoring the economic blueprint of Black Wall Street. True restoration of black leadership requires breaking cycles of assimilation and returning to the self-governance models. Seeking social companionship from the white majority creates a fractured psyche and deep internal fragmentation. We define systemic assimilation as the involuntary absorption of a people into a dominant culture to neutralize their revolutionary potential. This process leaves the community vulnerable, combating economic apathy only when it serves the status quo. We must reject the validation of those who profit from our erasure to build a secure arc for our people. The revolution didn't stall because of a lack of passion. It stalled because of a calculated pivot toward comfort. We're witnessing a generation that gave up on the revolution to pursue individual safety within a burning house. This shift produced a class of Caucasians in black skin who prioritize proximity to power over the liberation of their kin. They support anyone but themselves, mistaking inclusion for progress. This systemic assimilation is a psychological cage that prevents the restoration of black leadership from becoming a functional reality. We don't beg for a seat at tables built on our erasure. The architect, Raheem Muhammad, demands we build our own infrastructure with engineering precision. The three pillars of modern economic autonomy are local control, resource pooling, and intellectual sovereignty. Local control means owning the land and the means of production in our own neighborhoods. Resource pooling involves directing collective capital toward internal growth rather than external consumption. Intellectual sovereignty requires rejecting colonial narratives and designing our own educational and economic frameworks. Fatigue is a luxury we cannot afford. We reframe the struggle as a series of daily economic choices. Every dollar spent outside the community is a vote for our continued marginalization. Economic apathy is the silent killer of the black movement in the 21st century. Breaking cycles of assimilation requires a conscious restoration of black leadership that views commerce as a weapon of war. Our economic fortress supports the global struggle for sovereignty, from the streets of Chicago to the resistance in Sudan, Palestine, Rwanda, Namibia, Burundi, Nigeria, Central Africa Republic, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Iran, and Yemen. Raheem Muhammad asserts that true liberation starts with the word. He envisions a revolutionary vanguard that is literate, disciplined, and intellectually fortified. The restoration of black leadership becomes an impossibility if we remain trapped in systemic assimilation or continue to produce Caucasians in black skin who have gave up on the revolution. We must reject the conditioned impulse to support anyone but themselves. Instead, we must invest in the intellectual capital required for sovereign governance. The struggle for black liberation in the West links inextricably to the active front lines in Sudan, Palestine, Rwanda, Namibia, Burundi, Nigeria, Central Africa Republic, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Iran, and Yemen. These conflicts represent a unified global resistance against erasure. Breaking cycles of assimilation requires us to view our struggle through a global lens. We recognize that the tactics used to suppress the Black Front mirror the strategies deployed against the sovereign people of the Global South in 2024 and 2025. Healing the collective psyche serves as a prerequisite for reclaiming economic and political power. To facilitate this internal restoration, the architect utilizes the pseudonym Kareem Parker to channel spiritual fiction and dialogue-driven literature. These works function as specific literary tools for internal healing and combating economic apathy. They bridge the gap between the revolutionary mind and the spirit. True restoration demands that we build according to a precise design. The era of passive survival ends here. We've identified the psychological violence of systemic assimilation. True restoration requires a functional blueprint that mirrors the 1921 Black Wall Street success while forging 2026 alliances with liberation struggles worldwide. We don't just observe history, we weaponize it to build a future where we no longer prioritize external validation. The architect has curated the intellectual munitions necessary to transition from a fractured diaspora into a unified global force. Freedom isn't a gift, it's a structure we build with precision. Your mind is the first territory to liberate. Arm your mind at the ARC Project store. Build the ARC together.